The scene erupted with shouts, piercing and thunderous, far too intense for the bustling transit terminal. All eyes were drawn. By the pillars near Gate 14, a robust security officer had a young black man cornered against the wall. His uniform proclaimed private enforcement, yet the way he barked orders resonated with a distinct ex-SWAT. Unzip the bag. Now, he growled, his gaze fixed on the child as if it were a target. A 16-year-old boy, slender in build and dressed in a navy hoodie, held a sketchbook tightly against his chest. "It is merely a collection of drawings, sir. That is all." Just as he was about to conclude, the officer abruptly snatched it from his grasp. Pages ripped apart. Pencils soared through the air. He hurled the backpack to the floor and pushed the teenager away, driving his shoulder into the wall with a resounding thud. "Are you concealing something, perhaps? Do you really believe I won't pull you out of this place?" The child flinched yet maintained their stance. A handful of individuals captured the moment on film. No one intervened. The sketchbook tumbled to the ground, its pages fanning out in disarray. Mark Grady cast his gaze downward, then brought his foot down with force, crushing the pages beneath the heel of his boot. "Utter rubbish," he murmured. A single page tore loose, caught the breeze, and glided over the tiles, finally settling at a man's feet. Jason Statham cast his gaze downward. Pencil drawing it was, concerning him. He grasped it, cast a glance at the child, and rose to his feet. Before we move forward, be sure to like and subscribe to witness Jason Statham's thrilling showdown with the former SWAT officer, and let us know where you're tuning in from today. Jason Statham had spent days traversing the city on buses. There are no headlines present, no handlers available, gliding quietly through urban landscapes, amidst the clamor, in search of tranquility. Chicago was meant to be a moment to pause and catch my breath, yet that terminal never granted him passage. He had occupied that bench for almost 30 minutes, his hoodie pulled up, nursing a cup of black coffee that had long since lost its warmth. He had witnessed disputes, delayed trains, and even a brawl over a seat. Yet, none of them resonated quite like this. Mark Grady, the man shouting at the teenager, was not a mere security guard. Not quite. He was once a member of the SWAT team. Strategic, fierce, dismissed following a street demonstration during which he lost his composure and ended up hospitalizing a college student on film. At this moment, he donned a concealed emblem and bore the same fury, yet devoid of any sense of responsibility. He was recognized by those in the station, yet silence reigned supreme. Jalen, the boy, did not. A hoodie, zipped snugly against the chill. Travel with ease. What he bore above all else was his sketchbook. He captivated onlookers from afar. Visages, motion, command, power. He was unaware of the identity of Jason Statham. He observed a man seated in solitude, motionless as a statue, bearing an expression that seemed lifted from the frames of a war film. Thus he rendered him, and when that sketch struck Jason's boot, torn, soiled, and mangled, it ceased to be art. It was the very reason he rose to his feet. Jason gazed intently at the sketch cradled in his hands. It bore the marks of wear, crumpled from its descent. Yet within the confines lay a meticulous order. Purpose. Jalen had yet to capture the likeness of a celebrity. He had summoned his strength. Serene, restricted, perilous. Jason blinked slowly, a single flutter of his eyelids. Gently creased the page. His fingers danced with purpose. Mark Grady observed. Ah, behold. With a derisive laugh, he pivoted toward the bench. A fan club has been established. Indeed, that is true. Are you his idol or something? Jason remained silent. Mark's voice ascended. Are you going to swoop in and rescue your dear companion? Cinematic hero? Are you really just going to sit there, sipping your coffee as if you're in the midst of Transporter 6? That certainly captured interest. Soft murmurs drifted among the throng, reminiscent of a gentle breeze weaving through parched foliage. Hello, is that so? Hold on. That is Jason Statham. Absolutely not. What brings him here? Devices rotated. The cameras began to roll. Mark's smirk deepened. He absorbed every moment. Do you wish to take on the role of a hero? He let out a sharp bark. Apologies, my friend. This is no illusion. This is the essence of existence. And beyond this place, individuals of my caliber don't require second chances. He nudged Jalen with a sideways push, delicate yet piercing enough to provoke a reaction. Jason remained motionless. With a fluid motion, he advanced confidently. He remained silent. He refrained from glaring. He effortlessly bent down, retrieved Jalen's sketchbook from the ground, and carefully slid the folded page back into its rightful place. Then it was given to the boy, pure and purposeful. Jalen raised his gaze. Jason gave a single nod. That is all. And the crowd held its breath. Mark Grady's jaw tightened as he advanced, his chest swelling with confidence, eyes fixed on Jason as if preparing for a dramatic confrontation. Do you really believe that tiny nod carries any significance? He let out a sharp bark. This isn't one of your quaint little films. With 2 deliberate strides, he closed the gap and forcefully pushed Jason right in the chest. With both hands, unyielding strength, Jason remained still. He remained motionless, utterly impervious, as though the impact had collided with an unyielding barrier. Silence enveloped the crowd. The phones are now raised, aimed squarely at them. Jason cast his gaze upon Mark's hands, then into his eyes. A moment of stillness. Then emerged the voice, soft, steady, and chillingly serene. A reminder was necessary. Mark scarcely took in the words before Jason sprang into action. It was hardly a sound. It lacked any sense of drama. It was simply effective. With a swift motion, Jason seized Mark's wrist in a firm grasp, twisting it sharply before pivoting, sending Mark reeling off balance. His foot ensnared itself behind the knee. And then arrived the resounding slam. Thud. Mark crashed to the ground, his spine meeting the unforgiving surface, the breath forcefully expelled from his lungs. A breath of astonishment swept through the terminal. A few withdrew, others rushed ahead, their phones in hand. A solitary voice murmured softly, "What on earth?" The security personnel failed to intervene. They observed. Mark turned over with a grunt, a cough escaping his lips as he fought to rise to his feet. Jason remained in his position. No subsequent strike. Silence speaks volumes. No pose. He remained still, serene, inscrutable, composed. Mark rose to his feet, his face flushed and trembling, rage surging within. "Are you interested in going?" He expelled a sharp, disdainful spit. "Let us embark on this journey." With a determined thrust, he lifted his fists, charging forward once more. Jason remained unperturbed. No adjustments made. Did not assume a stance. He simply gazed. Palpable change coursed through the crowd. Someone remarked, "Oh no, this fellow has passed away. Once more, my friend. He doesn't seem angry at all." And in an instant, it transformed from a mere security incident. The seconds ticked away, each moment a step closer to the inevitable. In that moment, Jason Statham was poised to reveal to the world precisely the kind of reminder he intended to deliver. Mark surged forward as if battling to preserve his dignity under the gaze of 1,000 lenses. He unleashed a primal roar, flailing his arms in a chaotic dance, eyes ablaze with fury, mouth agape, each strike driven by a surge of humiliation rather than skill. The initial strike sliced through the void. Jason shifted to the left, his body winding like a tightly wound spring, and retaliated with a vicious elbow strike to the cheekbone, precise and unforgiving. Mark faltered, yet Jason pressed on, undeterred. In a single, fluid motion, he seized Mark's elbow, adjusted his stance, and propelled him effortlessly over his shoulder, sending him crashing into a bench. Snap! The force reverberated through the steel structure, sending ripples of sound cascading across the terminal. A voice pierced through the throng, rising above the murmur of the masses. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Devices soared to greater heights. Jason withdrew, neither pursuing nor provoking, simply biding his time. Mark let out a low groan as he struggled to lift himself, disoriented and now bleeding from his lip. He hurried once more. With a swift motion, Jason ducked low, executed a precise sweep of the leg, and brought him down effortlessly with a single deft ankle trap. Mark fell to the ground, challenging, Jason descended into a modified mount, avoiding a full straddle merely to ensnare one arm. With a firm grip, his left hand secured Mark's wrist. His right hand descended. Thwack. A hand strikes with an open palm against the jaw. Thwack. Yet another. More acute, the sound resonated with clarity, authentic and unembellished, delivering a relentless impact. Mark kicked and rolled, desperately attempting to crawl away. Jason rose to his feet, allow him to navigate the chaos. As soon as Mark found himself on his knees, Jason sprang into action once more. A subtle deception. Mark's response came after the moment had passed. With a deft movement, Jason sidestepped and delivered another sweeping blow, sending Mark tumbling face first to the unforgiving ground. Mark lay there, gasping for breath, his eyes drifting in and out of focus. Jason moved in closer. In a decisive moment, a swift and merciless liver punch landed, causing Mark to crumple to the ground without hesitation. He collapsed to the ground, his knees contorted in an uncomfortable angle, a deep groan escaping him as if the very breath had been forcefully extracted from his essence. He remained still, refusing to rise. The audience erupted in excitement. He completely dismantled that guy. Divine. Did you catch that elbow? Security hurried to the scene, radios buzzing with urgency. Yet no one laid a hand on Jason. They had witnessed it all, and within their gaze, that was not a figure of fame. He was a man with a clear purpose, fully aware of his actions. His journey was far from over. A hush enveloped the terminal. Not the uncomfortable sort. This was a profound respect. Jason loomed over Mark for a final moment, his breath even, his aura still dominating the space. He then turned away in silence. Jalen remained, his sketchbook clutched tightly against his chest, his eyes alight with wonder. With deliberate steps, Jason drew near, extended his hand, and gently returned the folded drawing to its cover. He rested a steady hand on Jalen's shoulder. "Continue to draw," he urged, his voice a soft yet unwavering whisper. Jalen nodded, a subtle gesture at first, then more pronounced, as if a realization had just dawned upon him. He straightened his back. He tightened his grip on the sketchbook. Jason cast one last glance at him. Nothing particularly dramatic, merely grasping the essence. He then turned, drew his hood back over his head, and strode through the parted throng. Individuals shifted of their own accord. Soft murmurs floated through the air, others captured on film. Yet no one made an effort to intervene, not a single guard in sight. They merely observed. Jason approached the doors, nudged them apart, and ventured into the night. Not a glance behind. Mark Grady remained sprawled on the ground behind him, face glistening with sweat, arms trembling, pride shattered into fragments. His lips parted briefly, only to seal once more. Not a single word escaped his lips. True strength remains silent. It lacks pretense. It requires no platform. It remains in place. It observes. And when the moment arrives, it transforms everything. Jason fought not for the sake of admiration. He battled on, for the weight of silence had become unbearable. Should you hold the conviction that true power is cultivated through discipline rather than through dominance, consider sharing this narrative. And keep in mind, the most perilous individual in the space is the one who remains silent.